And we continue with our discussion here on the party nominations that is looming already. We can see movements. ODM so far has recalled all those nomination fees that were paid, and now they're issuing direct tickets to the most popular candidates within the regions that people will be, of course, running for those particular elective seats at the end of the day. What does it really portend for inter-party democracy at the end of the day? And now, according to the secretariat there, they had indicated that they will be going for the polls to make sure that they have the popular candidates on the ground given these particular nominations. We just want to hear, and this is also what is on the front page of the Standard this morning. But before we even buckle down to that particular discussion, let's see how the politics of the week has been. Here is the soapbox.
This month only, hii wiki peke yake, wakati wananchi wanakufa na njaa sehemu nyingi ya Kenya, ati pesa ya serikali bilioni 1 imetolewa kununua wanasiasa ati warudi kwa chama ya Jubilee.
Na tumewaambia wanasiasa mtanunua, lakini raia wa Kenya anayetaka haki, anayetaka uchumi bora hawezi.
Mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta hawezi enda treasury achukue pesa kama ile walikuwa wanachukua makaburi, wanauza na wanaweka wananchi wanahangaika wakiwa mawaziri.
Yale Ruto anasema ati pesa za serikali zinatumika kufanya campaign, hiyo ni upuzi na matope. Sisi tuna pesa, tutasukuma hii azimio.
Ati William Ruto anaweza kupindua mtu ambaye nilimweka kwenye ofisi? Please my friends, wacheni porojo na propaganda. Munagawanya taifa for nothing.
Hakuna motion yoyote ambayo ilikuwa imepelekwa bunge ya kufanya impeachment ya Uhuru. Hiyo ni uongo mtupu. Kama naibu wako alijaribu kukuhujumu, that is against the constitution.
Kakamega tayari tunafanya law, iko under law. Hata kuwe president huko kwa tangatanga, sisi tunaunga mkono Raila Amolo.
Kiniona hapa muelewe ya kwamba mlima umekubali baba.
Hii biashara ya miwa tunafufusha sawa sawa. Sawa, nikisema inafanyika. Ati kazi ni kazi. Mnataka kusukuma wilbaro? Mmekataa wilbaro? Wangapi mmekataa wilbaro nione? Wale watanga.
Well, we remains if we don't tease out some of these pronouncements that were made on the ground as well, especially on allegations of impeaching the president, which the deputy president has stoutly denied at the end of the day. Not me. This is what Udabos is saying. Impeach the president is a story also you can follow inside the Standard this morning on page 7. I just want us to just mention that briefly. Where is this, do you think, what he's saying right now, that the president is not speaking the truth at the end of the day? And why did the president also wait until now to make such pronouncements? I think it's late in the day for him to reveal this sort of predicament that he was actually under.
I think in terms of the optics, the deputy president is on the dock. So he must come out and defend himself because his boss, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, has answered a question that many Kenyans have been asking themselves. You know, we started this show, remember, with Gladys Cholet, and we used to ask that there is something that must have happened between these two, and only them two know what this could be.
Yes.
But I think now the cat has been let out of the bag. The president has come out and said this, after all, was not a genuine friend. So what we are seeing, these cries from William Ruto are just crocodile tears. Somebody who could have eaten you alive. He has told Kenyans that this guy wanted me out of office. And you know the bar, that's a very clever move. Because the current constitution today, if you succeed in impeaching your president, who takes off?
You become the president.
William Ruto becomes the president. So I think this was a very good plan, very well crafted scheme whereby you impeach the president, then you take over. So you could have approached the elections as an incumbent sitting president and not a deputy president.
But we don't have any stitch of proof that
that's why
William Ruto was on it. This is just the president really saying, and in light of what we're really going or finding on the ground, people will use whatever weapon they have in their hand to try and besmirch the image of the other person, so that you look good in their
I said, we were here, we were in our show here, and we all said we cannot know what happened between these two unless one of them comes out to tell us. As it were, His Excellency the President has come out and told us, this is what my deputy was plotting against him.
Let's hear from Makali.
Yeah. You know, Dibal, I think Kenyans are aware that the president, as the head of the state, gets a lot of intelligence briefing every day. And I don't think really the president just wake up one morning and make an allegation which is not supported by facts. So even though the timing of the sermon might look like it's about doubtful because of the political environment we are in, but I think every Kenyan, over time, you remember, Kenyans have been asking, what could have gone wrong? And there has also been a lot of rumors around that at one point, could he have attempted to kill the president? Those rumors have been around. But know what the president has done now? He's starting to come and tell Kenyans, this is what happened. And I didn't expect DP to do things different from the way he has done them, to defend himself. And actually, he has an advantage because now he's defending himself when the political environment is so, everybody now is talking politics. So he can easily tell Kenyans this is a big lie. But I can tell you, for the president to say that, I think to me, it sends a very clear signal of something had gone wrong. And you remember the Bible many times, like Senator is saying, that's a shortcut through the presidency. It's a shortcut. And that's why you see, as you appoint your deputy, you have to be very careful. Because if anything happens to the president, automatically then he becomes a president without really going out there to look for votes. Anybody would be tempted to do that. And it depends on your ambition. And over time we have said the DP is a very overambitious politician. He has always wanted to be the president. And I think even there has been talk that he can do anything to assume that position. So I will not be surprised that what is being said is the truth. But let's see what happens. To me, I still believe the people who know what happened. They are the two of them. Me and Omgen and the Gemani Chungwas who we've seen talk will just be making statements. But let's see what happens. But he didn't have a choice other to say what he has said.
All right, let's hear from Professor Wajakoya. Talking of an unbridled ambition, the president has been on it as well. And in light of what now we can see in the papers and what he said over the weekend, just meeting also with the elders in the Gikuyu elders at the end of the day. Do you think this hold water? And I'm just asking this because where we are in this particular space, everyone who really says anything, we have to take it with a pinch of salt because this is the electioneering period and this might be ill-timed also in terms of making this pronouncement from the president himself.
Thank you, Dibar. I will speak very little on this particular topic, but I will take Senator Omugeni's stand, the senior counsel stand. That's how I could have answered it. And I'm also very ashamed to be taking part in this trivial debate, especially when men are abusing each other. The president is hurling words at the deputy is hurling words at, and his team is hurling words at the president. Raila is talking about, I'm not in that game. I think Root's party position is very clear. We are issue-oriented. And when I look at my opponents rushing and abusing each other, it makes me feel so bad. Thank you.
Right. Makes you feel so bad at the end of the day. Okay, wait, let's buckle down to the topics of the day. And this is on the party nominations, as it were. And I'd ask you, Okongo Mogeni, why is ODM now going for the direct ticket? We saw you making pronouncements before that, yeah, you're going to use the polls so that you can ascertain who is most popular within that particular locality. And now we can see you're actually handing back the money for the people who had paid for this particular nomination fees.
I don't know about why you only focus on ODM.
No, we'll begin with you because this is what is on the front page. Yeah, so we go with what is visible right now.
I've seen even UDA. You know, UDA normally tells us that we are in Nairobi making boardroom decisions. But I saw they were in Kakamega and they have told Boni Galwale to drop his gubernatorial bid in favor of Malala. That's a boardroom decision. But what's happening in the Bali is that we were here discussing the amendments to the political parties amendment bill that was enacted sometime last year. That changed the legal framework within which parties undertake nominations. And one of the most radical proposals in that act was giving leeway to political parties to undertake direct nominations in parties, and also to have a forum where there can be consensus among candidates, and then you give out a ticket to the one that the candidates agree to support. So the first thing I'll tell you is that the legal framework has changed, and political parties now have a legal framework to invoke and give candidates direct nomination. That would have been a challenge maybe in 2017 because there was no legal power allowing parties to give direct nominations. So that is currently the legal position, that a party can invoke the law and give a direct ticket to candidates. Number two is that we are facing a number of challenges, Debal. Now, if you read the new Political Parties Act, it's also obligating parties to field a number of women candidates, so that you meet the gender requirements, so that you get finance from the political parties bill. That's why you can see a party like ODM has made a deliberate decision to give direct nominations to a number of women candidates in an affirmative way. Because if you don't do it, Debal, you are going to get some penalty. You will be denied some financial allocation from the political parties fund. Three, parties also, they want numbers. Debal, this game is a game of numbers. You want to sponsor a candidate that stands a chance of delivering that seat for your political party. So what parties have done, especially my party ODM, is that it has undertaken opinion polls across the country for various political seats. And where it emerges that a candidate is way ahead of his opponents, then the party discusses those opinion polls with the candidates who are vying for that position, and it gives a direct nomination to that candidate. So what we are looking for is seats. You know, we are not looking for money bags. We don't want candidates who have money, who can mount a campaign. We want candidates who can come out and provide a clear contest to, as against other candidates. So that's what we are doing. It's not dictatorial. It's something that is backed by the law, and it is a strategy by our party ODM, and I believe other parties, to ensure that they get the highest number of elective seats possible from these forthcoming elections.
So is this also what we know Senator Ongeri had actually foreseen, that we're going to have some injustices when it comes to direct nominations? Now he had to bolt.
Yeah,
we've seen a lot of party hopping.
I don't call it an injustice because it's about the most popular.
But how germane are these polls at the end of the day? And who is carrying out these polls? How do we know that we don't have any looming hands that are sort of really directing what they should be putting as a questionnaire?
Yeah, these opinion polls are carried by professionals in that field. It's not ODM bigwigs that do the opinion polls. They engage professional bodies in research bodies that do scientific opinion polls. And Debal, this has happened before. In Musambweni, the opinion polls reflected the outcome on the ground. And that's why the party is actually turning to opinion polls, because it's the best scientific way of knowing who is the most popular candidate on the ground. And you can see even at presidential level, opinion polls are being churned out every week, just to give us an indication on how candidates are performing in various seats: presidential, gubernatorial, senatorial, and parliamentary. So I think the best you can do is to trust the experts in the field, the research bodies. Once they give you opinion polls maybe 2-3 times, you trust them. That's the only way you can do it.
Let's say from what is happening also in Wiper Party.
Yeah, you know, Debal, what has happened is that, as we said earlier, this year is unique because we have amended the Political Parties Act, and as a result of that act, we had to, most of the majority, actually all the parties, to align their nomination rules to the new law. And when you look at that law, you realize there are about four different ways of nominating candidates. There is direct nomination, what we are discussing, where the party just decides we are giving this ticket to so and so. Directly. This could be informed by opinion polling. It could be informed by other factors which the party considers. For example, you know, there are some very loyal party members, and the party might decide this member has been very loyal in the party for a long time. And as a result of that, then we just give him a direct ticket. The second one is where you do consensus building, where you have many people who have applied to be members of the to be candidates, and then you just decide that instead of taking them to the election, let's call them, discuss, and agree that so and so would take this ticket. And that's what happened. You saw the order between Karwale and Senator Malala, so that they were able just through. There could have been coercion, but the fact that they went to a room and they agreed, then that's another one. The third one is where you use delegates, that you decide that the delegates, then delegates can be identified from different areas, they sit and vote for one. And whoever emerges the winner is given the ticket. And then the last one is the universal one, where you call all the party members and then they vote for a candidate. Now the last one is a bit expensive and time consuming, where you take people to party primaries. And I think that's why you see now most people are trying to avoid that bit. Where you subject a popular candidate, which could have been identified through our opinion polling. And I want to confirm that scientifically there's a way you can conduct your opinion polling and it gives you the right results. Actually, there are those ones you say the margin of error could be 2% on either side, or the margin of error could be 5%. So depending on margin error you're provided, you realize that if somebody scores about 70% and you have a margin of error of about 5%, it means the worst you can at the end of the day get is 65% or 75%. And even in an election you get 65%, you've already won. So on the basis of that, then there might be no need of subjecting such a candidate to primaries, which will be very expensive in terms of money and in terms of time. And at the end of the day, the same candidate then will face other candidates from other parties. And I think that's why you see this decision be, and that be done across board. For example, even us in Wiper, we intend to do the same to avoid also fallout. Because you know what happens is you subject people to primaries, and when they believe that they have been unfairly been treated, then what will happen is they will actually jump to independent. And then you divide the same block of votes between 3 people, so you give your opponent in the other parties an advantage in terms of winning that position. And that's why you see then majority of the parties are avoiding that. Then there's also another element which we should also remember, the bar. You know, parties did open their doors that now whoever is interested in contesting now under our party ticket or in our ticket can now apply. Then you take people through that application window and you close the window, but at the end of the day you find it's only one person who has applied. So on the basis of that, then you get a ticket on the basis that you are the only sole applicant for that position. And this is happening in mostly where the parties, you know, every party, in most cases there are strongholds and then there are not strongholds. So you, for example, you see like Wiper, we are very strong the southern part of this country. So you find when you go there, Wiper ticket becomes very competitive. When you go to other areas like now, Luonyanza, you find actually it's only one person or two might be interested in Wiper ticket. So whoever applies has a high chance of getting just a direct ticket because the other is the applicant. So these are the factors being considered. And I really, personally, I think this is the way to go. And then there are also some of us who are scared as politicians that Senator Mugeni has come to my constituency, has applied, and I belong there. And I don't want to waste my resources, so I just jump to a small fringe party, and we meet with him on 9th August, so that the voters, tunasema wananchi wanaamua, other than the party amuaring at the earlier stage. These are the issues. And I don't think we'll be able to avoid them as we move to the future.
All right. How are you actually carrying it out also within the Roots Party, if I may come to you, Professor Wajakoya? Briefly.
I've listened very keenly to what my two friends have said. And it's very sad. It's very sad. That's why one of the issues or one of the things I'm going to do is to suspend the Constitution and probably do away with the Political Parties Act. It's archaic. It is irrelevant. It is not relevant to the needs of Kenyans. It is an act that has been tormented and tainted by the majority, members of parliament, who are afraid of losing their seats, who are singing the whims of their political leaders, who want to cling on power forever, who are even referring to other political parties as fringe parties. I don't know where this language is coming from. Because when it comes to the Political Parties Act, formation of a political party is the most expensive thing in this country. Unless you are rich, you cannot form one. Some of us who have been denied windows of joining ODM or other groups because of reasons known by certain had to go beyond and look for finances from other sources to actually form a vehicle which Kenyans would actually look into it. Look at MPs today. Their work in parliament is to pass very punitive legislation, looking at their tumbocrats, looking at how they are going to remain in power and how dominant they are going to be. Why can't you let Kenyans choose themselves? Why would you want to choose for a Kenyan? You talk of democracy, and then you are practicing mediocrity. Why would you not allow somebody else also to exercise his own will freely and ask Kenyans and let Kenyans to choose him? Why would you be fomenting, designing political future of politicians who want to run? This is something that makes this country to go down and down. And that's why I'm appealing to Kenyans that unless you are careful, you are going to be ruled by the same caliber of politicians you are hearing for the rest of your life, and you'll never come out of it. Because, I mean, why would you come up and pass legislation in parliament, vote for it, to zone areas for yourself, zone areas for your children, zone areas for your mistresses, zone areas for those who sing your song, zone areas for those who you think are loyal to the party? How do you measure loyalty to the party? Is it because somebody is financing you, financing that party, so he's giving a bunch of money, he's loyal? Why can't you let young men and women come out, especially those who are in the universities also, to exercise universal suffrage and stand to be counted? Why would you fumigate somebody's ideas? I rest my case.
Maybe the Prof could actually help us by telling us how would wish it was done and how is he doing it in this party? Because if he has 3 candidates in one constituency, how would this, other than what we are proposing, what would he do so that people can just come and go to the end of August without
yeah, first eliminating? Of all, Mheshimiwa Makali, thank you very much, and I was not redirecting it to you or to Senator Mugeni. I was just speaking it the way it is. First of all, do you consider what you call Chapter 6? As a party, you are supposed to nominate people who are there in Chapter 6. Have you ever asked a candidate to come in with Chapter 6 requirements? The answer is no. But when you look at somebody coming in, depending on the size of the pocket it is, you say yes. Roots Party may not have candidates this time because we had to scrutinize each and everybody. We told people, come on. If you want to run on our party, we don't have money. You have to stand for yourself. But can you bring us? Can you show cause as to why you want to be elected as a member of parliament, MCA, Senate, or even governorship? Go and bring us Chapter 6 requirements as per the Political Parties Act, as per the Constitution. They never came out. So why would we have to fill the House because we want numbers to go there? And that's why I'm appealing for the presidential debate, for the presidential vote, so that those who will vote for people like me will be assured of fairness, will be assured of a proper constituted constitution, not this constitution in which people come in with what they want to come in, write them down, go to parliament, go out and say, we need popular participation, just take a few weeks and come back and say, oh, people have participated. We have to be progressive. Look at Israelis, for example. In 1948, they had a draft constitution. When they took over, when they occupied their territory, they came up and they said, what is all this written about? Let us do it progressively. Let's look at what has been there before us and what our forefathers did, the law of Torah, the law of Yahweh, the pronouncements of academics, pronouncements of what was happening, and then we go progressively. That has happened in New Zealand, that has happened in Canada, and that is happening in Britain. But here in Kenya, people are obsessed with writing laws that are so punitive, especially, I'm sorry, I'm jumping out of the pan, especially on issues like the plant which is given by God, like marijuana. You put somebody in jail for 50 years because the laws say so. This parliament, if Kenyans are listening to me and listening to what MPs are saying and politicians, it's time you change your attitude towards them. Otherwise, you are going to be marooned into them for life. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Dibal, just, I would wish that the senior counsel would comment on this because it's a legal matter. But personally, what I believe is, for anybody to be able to contest in this country, there are requirements by ABC which are aligned to the Constitution. And actually, nobody has been able to pay for any nomination in any party without meeting those requirements. They're checking all those Chapter 6 requirements.
Who are checking?
The only thing is now,
no, but
for example, let's take the corruption issue.
Yeah.
What you do is you're supposed to fill a form which is supposed to be signed by the Ethics and Corruption Commission before you take to your party. If it's clearance with the university in terms of loan payment, you are supposed to get a clearance certificate. If it's CRB, you are supposed to get a certificate. So if I apply to those independent organizations and they clear me, that's the only time I can send the documentation to my
So
party.
they have been declared?
Yeah. You can't submit.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Maybe the senior counsel could help.
All right, senior counsel, and I want to ask you as well, because we had EACC saying they don't have money to actually carry that particular exercise.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you're telling me they've been cleared and the EACC have been on the front saying we don't have money to carry out this particular exercise to subject them to the Leadership and Integrity Act, then who is telling the truth?
The thing is,
how have they cleared you if they don't have the money to carry
the thing
this
is, as a
exercise?
candidate, I'm supposed to fill a form, take it to EACC, for them to do whatever they want to do with the form, and clear me. So whether they have the money to go down to Kitui and check what is happening, or they just send and stamp it, what I know is the documentation I put to wipe.
But how do we trust this particular process? Because we've had so many of them being cleared at the end of the day, and people questioned how did this person really pass muster and got this particular clearance from EACC at the end of the day, and even IBC to get the particular ticket. Then too many days along the road, somebody is being impeached because of impropriety. Somebody is being impeached because of fake credentials or academic papers at the end of the day. The National Qualifications Authority also has withdrawn from this particular exercise because I think it was being politicized at the end of the day on who should actually be subjecting some of these aspirants to the rigmarole of making sure they pass masters. Even they pass master, even with their the credential, how credible is their certificates, you know, the degrees, their diplomas, the high school certificates at the end of the day.
Yes. First, you know, I had my good friend, Professor Wajakoyo. You know, he said that he doesn't want to participate in a session where people are hurling abuses against each other. But I've just heard him saying we are tumbocrats. So I think he's being fairly very unfair to us because Dibal, we are not tumbocrats. We do not pass the Political Parties Act so that we zone it for our families, as he's saying, because we just put in place a framework to assist parties carry out their nominations. And if you go to other democracies, and Wajakoyo, professor, lived in the US for a long time, you realize that even the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, do issue direct nominations to their candidates, either senators or governors. It happens. So the fact that is happening does not mean that we are trying to stifle democracy. We have more than over 83 registered political parties in this country, out of which 82 have complied, come up with their nomination rules, and they have been approved by IBC to sponsor candidates in various elective posts. Honestly, if you have 82 political parties, is there a chance of you locking anybody out of an elective seat? All of them can seek for these elective positions from all these 82 seats. So the country remains democratic. And as Wajakoyo seeks to be the president of this country, let him also read Article 1 and Article 2 of the Constitution. It says you cannot set up a government in any other way other than as allowed by this Constitution. So when he tells us that he's going to suspend the Constitution suspend political parties. He's scaring many of his supporters because that means he wants to be an autocratic leader. He wants to be dictatorial. You cannot become a president.
Well, we wanted to come back with that and ask him, of course, on what legal framework will you operate? So we'll give him time to qualify that.
I'm already really scared of Wajakoya's presidency. You know, if you suspend his constitution, it means my Bill of Rights is not guaranteed anymore. But if you suspend the political parties, it means I have no political rights anymore. So I think let him also understand that this product is a negotiated document, this constitution, that is there to ensure that we tolerate each other's views. We also accept that there are institutions. You know, currently the only institution that can pass legislation is Parliament. And if you think that parliamentarians are not doing a good job, you look for a constituency, you offer yourself as a candidate, then when you are elected, you come and try to convince other members of parliament on the floor to support you. But more importantly, Debal, you know, this thing of Chapter 6, I want to refer you to Article 99, so that my friend Wajakoya does not misquote me. I should even read for him. You know, Chapter 6 is not something that should be at anybody's personal whims. EACC cannot wake up today and say, oh, Mogeni, you have not complied with Chapter 6. There is a framework, if you read in Article 99, that must be invoked for you to bar somebody from seeking an elective post. Now, what is most relevant is Chapter 6. If you read Article 99, sub-article H, for you to be given that tag of somebody who has breached Chapter 6, the Constitution says you must have been found in accordance with any law, and I want to emphasize, to have misused or abused state office or public office, or in any other way to have contravened Chapter 6. Now, the only institution that can find you in accordance with the law to have breached Chapter 6 is a body that enjoys constitutional power. One, it could be a court of law. Two, it could be any of the tribunals. Three, it could be like the impeachment processes that we go through as a Senate when we are undertaking impeachment of governors. And the Constitution says that for this to be invoked, that a person must have exhausted the possibility of any appeal or review guaranteed under this Constitution. So the framework is there, Debal. What we must tell Kenyans is that you don't wake up and say, Omogeni has breached Chapter 6. You work with a document that as a backing of any of the bodies I've mentioned, either a court of law, a tribunal, or a Senate proceedings, and say, look, this person went through a trial, he was given a fair hearing, he had an opportunity to defend himself, and then he was found to have breached Chapter 6. That's the only time you can now say this person should not violate. That's why, Debal, every time you are seeking a nomination from your party, you'll be told to get a certificate of good conduct. Because if you have a conviction, that certificate will show that Omogeni was convicted for theft or fraud, convicted, tried in this court. This is the verdict from court. The DCI will not say, I'm investigating this person, so don't clear him. Because they understand the Constitution says you must have been found. So I agree with Professor Wajakoya that anybody who has been found in accordance with the law to have breached Chapter 6 should not be allowed to seek elective post. In terms of academic qualification, I think we go back to our bodies that have been put in place to ensure that they check the veracity of academic qualifications, because that should not be a work of EACC. EACC is there to fight corruption, not to check on the authenticity of academic.
No, but I think we had the Kenya National Qualifications Authority who was supposed to do this.
Yes.
I don't know why they pulled out, because I think there was some clashes with, I don't know what if it was IBC in regard who will be actually doing or carrying out this particular exercise, or it was EACC at the end of the day. But don't you think it's right up the alley to actually carry out that particular exercise?
Yeah, what I think we all need to agree is that if the Constitution has set an academic qualification, for example, for you to run for presidency, for you to run for governor, you must have a minimum university degree education. What I think we need to ask IBC, in my own humble view, is that IBC should appear before a forum like this and tell Kenyans what mechanisms have they put in place to verify papers that are presented before them. If Omogeni comes and tells IBC, I have a law degree from University of Nairobi, what safeguards are in place for IEBC to verify that the information I'm giving is factual and not doctored, debunked?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's come to you, Professor Wajakoya, and on that particular note of about you abolishing the Constitution and doing away with it, will you be operating on a vacuum? And of course, you're sending, scarecrows all around in that regard, that as Okongo Morgan is saying, people who they believe, in the efficacy of the Constitution, they will live by the Constitution, will feel a bit, a bit of trepidation and fear when you make such pronouncement. Maybe you need to make it very limpid and clear. What truly is your plan?
Thank you very much. Junior Counsel, my name is Wajakoya, not Wajakoyo. Well, sorry, I wouldn't want to blame you a lot. But one thing is this. We are so learned to read very well. We read so precisely. Yeah? The book says this. The book of God says this. The law says this. I don't have you. But what we are not looking into is the atrocities that have been committed under the same constitution. Kenya is the only country with a constitution that allows you to do a lot of things. And I will start by the following before I answer that question. Recently, a member of parliament was jailed for 60-something years. He was in remand for a very long time. He was released, and the release was pending appeal, which means that his moral duty to lead is still questionable. But the man now is running to be the next MP for Sirisia, and nobody is talking about it. If such a person came to Roots Party with all those documents, of course the silly argument would be like, he has not exercised all his judicial rights. The Roots Party will tell him, excuse me, sorry. Similarly, I ran for elections in Tottenham after Barney Grant had passed on Labour Party. When I went before the primaries, I had filled in all the forms, but I lacked one principle: morality, moral obligation. I was asked, do you have children? Of course, you fill in the forms. I'd filled the number of my children. I filled the number of my wife. And then they asked me a simple question: are you married? I said yes. They looked into the documents and they are like, where is your marriage certificate? And I'm like, it's under common law. They said, no, you fail. And that's how I failed to be a member of to be nominated as a member of parliament for Tottenham in England. Now, here we have a constitution which is so many pages, as opposed to the US constitution, which is only 8 pages. Everything is written, all the laws are there. But if you look at those laws, and then you look at the practical aspect part of it, you'll find out that most of those MPs and senators and governors, some of them have dipped their hand in treasury. There have been condemnation by the public, which in itself is a moral duty. And then you see them now coming up, running and being elected members. I'm talking of the morality of the Constitution. Now, when it comes to abrogation of the Constitution, I want to be heard very clearly. I will ask Kenyans to review the Constitution and look into that question, and look into the Constitution and ask themselves questions. Do we need this to be here? Let's look at the judiciary, and I'm glad that Raila Odinga has also spoken of the corruption in judiciary. How do we go about it? You'll find out that the Kenyan judiciary is very incompetent. Not all of them, but some of the judges and some of the magistrates. How do we have a case like Chickengate, where accomplices in UK were tried, and those who were found guilty were jailed, they served their sentences, and then they are free men in Britain. Whereas here in Kenya, the case is still going on. Constitution protects you. Nobody can come in. I'll abolish some of that and ask Kenyans to relook into that. If they want to retain, fine. If they do not want to retain, okay. But I'll use parliament. Don't tell me, oh, you're cutting me? It's okay.
No, I'm not cutting you. Have you finished? I thought you had finished. You can finish your point.
Yeah. What I'm trying to say is, yes, I've been given the mandate. I've been sworn in. I'll go back to the people and I'll ask the people, can you review this constitution that was given to you very hurriedly and look at the laws that are being formed by the parliament. If you look at these parliamentarians and you compare the parliamentarians with the ones we had during Kenyatta 1 administration, during Moi's administration, you'll find out that the majority of these parliamentarians are just goons. Senator Mugeni, thank you.
Right. All right. Senator Mugeni, you want to respond to that?
His opinion.
People in Yamira are watching when Professor says parliamentarians are crooks. So people in Yamira may think
some of them.
Actually, I don't believe I'm a crook.
It's always good to put an exemption that I'm not referring to Senator Mugeni.
Collectively.
Yeah, but it's good to have a professor on this forum. But I thought you could tell us that my party, with these ideas that I stand for, is sponsoring the number in our 47 counties. How many candidates is he sponsoring for governor? How many candidates is he sponsoring for Senate? How many candidates is he sponsoring for member of parliament? How many candidates are seeking to be elected under his party as MCA? I would have liked to hear from Prof. How is he treating women candidates? Yeah? Is he asking them to pay for primary under his party? So that we also assess, because we don't want him to just pay lip service on this show. We want to see that it's an alternative government with followers, with candidates who can form, who can chair the Council of Governors.
Thank you.
But Dibal, I want to ask, why didn't the Labour Party pick him as an elected member? He didn't complete the story. He said he filled the forms, he vied, then what happened?
Yeah, I can say it. Can I say it?
Please do.
Yes, because I had not yet filled in the form marriage certificate. But after that, I married. And that's why
so did he win?
I'm being honest with the Kenyans to tell them openly.
He was denied the nomination.
Yeah, I was denied the nomination of
because you are not married.
Yes, according to the British, I was not officially married. Of course, I was married under customary law, but now I had to go and validate my marriage. And that's the truth about it. But what, Senator, I have to tell you also is that it's not me choosing the candidates. It is the party NEC that is choosing the candidates.
So
and in that case, it's not me to come here and exercise my Holy Spirit or evil spirit by saying, I have this and that and that. Let the nominations come out and you'll see, because we are a registered party. But I'm not here to fight my senior counsel. He's my friend.
You.
But what I'm saying is, I'm talking of some of the members of parliament. I think I should have used that physiology.
That's better now.
Not all. Senator Mugeni has never been hard on corruption, and I'll be the last person to point my finger at him. Thank you.
I just wanted to know as well, you as Root Party, are you electing to go it alone as a maverick, or now people are joining coalitions? Have you been approached, or are you also considering, if that is also up your collective sleeves, that you might join a coalition? Briefly.
The NEC has made it very clear that we are not going to join any coalition. Because if you look at the reasons that have come up with the Act of Parliament that came in to sanitize coalition, there is a problem here. Why would I be jumping from one party to another party? Do I go back to ask my constituents for direction, or do I go to lie on the platform that watu wameamua niende huko? One of the reasons that we look into is there is some kind of corruption, some kind of forgetting to serve Kenyans, but running to be there so that you can share power, running there to be there so that you can be seen to be in the next government to share power for you. Roots Party is alone. We are going up to the debe. Let Kenyans decide, because if we join these people, then our ganja issue, our bang issue will die, because we shall now be working under the framework of somebody's ideology. And they are the same people that have been there since independence. The only thing is they change their color. We don't want to become mingled. We don't want to become mixed. We don't want to dilute our philosophy. Well, I'm not saying that their philosophy is insane, but what I'm saying is that if we join them, having learned from what my late friend Kalembe Ndile was saying, unaingia huko unapewa pesa alafu, it's just like the other day when Halwale met me. And I said, Mr. Governor, Roots Party is not going. Roots Party may decide not to bring in a governor in Kakamega because your track record on human rights is very good. He didn't tell me that he was jumping gun now to go and release it for Malala. And now Roots Party will not be supporting him. But that is Roots Party for you. And thank you.
All right, Honorable Mukali, as we were winding up on that, I think I want to just broach another issue with Wajakoya briefly. Maybe you want to comment?
Yeah, you know, Libaro, anytime I listen to Prof, I see a disconnect between reality of politics and the theories of politics. And you know, he's a professor, so I'm imagining a lot of theory might be coming, playing, not reality. But we wish him well. I've told him many times, Prof, I wish you well. Let's see what happens 9th August.
Yeah. All right. The reality of politics, Prof. And I think I'll pick up just also what the Star had. This was last Tuesday, where the Star had an editorial. And they were considering, if my director just may pick up this, was saying, consider Wajakoya idea, or Wajakoya's idea to legalize bang. Here it is. It says fringe candidates. Let me just try and zoom that. It says fringe candidates often propose ideas in their manifestos that seem offbeat, but later, where is it?
Excuse me.
Offbeat, but later become mainstream. One such proposal is a promise by presidential candidate Professor Wajakoya that he would legalize bang or marijuana if were elected in August. Legalizing bang might seem extreme to many Kenyan voters, but it makes a lot of sense. Firstly, drinking alcohol is probably more dangerous than smoking marijuana. Many Kenyans have become addicted to alcohol and ruined their lives. Obviously, bang is not without risks, but there are many medical studies indicating that it is less dangerous than alcohol. Secondly, Professor Wajakoya is proposing legalization so that Kenya can enter the global trade for medical marijuana. He claims to have already identified importers in Canada where the medical marijuana trade is worth 45 billion shillings annually. This is a great export opportunity. The government is supporting cat farmers and the cat trade because of its economic benefit. Police do not pursue people chewing or transporting cat, yet cat is more dangerous than both bang and alcohol. If the government can support cat, then it should seriously consider Wajakoya's proposal to legalize bang. Well, it does not really stop there. I want to show you something that also was headlining on the front page of the New Times. This is in Rwanda. And this was Monday last week, actually. It says government is designating 134 hectares of cannabis production. Last year, Rwanda publicly showcased its plans to start growing and exporting the plant and its product. The story continues on page 2 here. Just to read a snippet of it, it says that Rwanda has dedicated 134 hectares to cannabis production. The New Times has learned, which is this paper. It was last year when the country publicly showcased its plan to start growing and exporting the plant and its product. To the effect of this, ministerial order was gazetted in June, providing a framework for a responsible and secure cultivation, processing, distribution and use of cannabis in the country. Now, a few months since then, a number of steps have been taken towards starting the operations, among which, according to information available to the New Times by Rwanda Development Board, the government has designated a specific area of 134 hectares to cannabis production and is in the process of having this site developed. We can cross over now to Rwanda, and I will pick up the Farmers Weekly and just show you what also has been inside the Farmers Weekly briefly, talking about cannabis there and what they're trying to do currently. This is in the current copy of the Farmers Weekly, and they're talking about unlocking the potential of South Africa's cannabis and hemp industry. And it says that in recent State of the Nation address, President Cyril Ramaphosa noted that the government was reviewing the policy and regulatory framework for the commercialization and legalization of cannabis and the hemp industry in South Africa. This announcement came off the back of the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development's presentation of the cannabis master plan to Parliament last year. And they've given a figure, and here's a growth projection for American medical cannabis industry since 2016 up to 2025. That is bound to really grow. This is from Statistica 2021. And also they have an eye-popping figure. According to them, let me just go there. It says according to government, South Africa's cannabis industry has a potential value of 28 billion rands there. 28 billion rands, and they're saying that it's bound actually to also give employment of around 20,000 to 10,000 to 20,000 people in the value chain. In light of this, Okongo Mogeni, do you think we should take it lightly? With all that husk of a bank that we know it's being impounded by police, South Africa, they have a cannabis master plan. Rwanda has dedicated 134 hectares. Wajakoya is coming up with a proposal, and yet we're poo-pooing this particular proposal. What do you make out of it?
I think that's a very difficult one for me. It's a very difficult one for me,
why is it difficult for you?
Because, you know, I was listening to a clip on FM, a local FM radio this morning. And somebody was saying that this campaign, that was, I think, on Egesa News this morning. And you know, a lady from Kisi was actually crying and saying that this discussion of legalizing bangi is destroying children. And she was actually making a very strong appeal to the government to intervene and bring this debate to an end, because she was saying children in schools are now saying bangi is good. In fact, there is a campaign to legalize, because they just pick the bits and pieces of what they read on media or they hear on media. So I think me, I'm a bit conservative. I don't think...
for medicinal purposes, because I think there's a lot of education that has to be done.
Yeah, I don't think
this has the licensing.
Yeah, I don't think growing bank is what will transform the economy of this country. So the Roots Party can sell its... I mean, it's manifesto on this, but I'm a bit conservative, because it can have some very bad adverse effects on our children. So I will not root for it myself.
All right, let's hear from Honorable Makali.
The ball, I remember one time the late Kenokoff actually had a legislative proposal.
Yes, I remember.
On this matter. And it's a very...
it's still in the House?
No, you know, once a House, when you do your term, then all the bills just die natural death. So, you know, when you analyze the advantages and disadvantages, one of the key advantages which was coming up was the issue of it being used as for medicinal purposes. But then the social issues, to me, outweigh the medicinal issues. And I think, like Omugeni is saying, you know, when you look at Kenya, most of us are Christians, some are strong believers. From that religion perspective, I don't think really I would support that move. From an economic perspective, as you are saying, it would generate a lot of money, but the question is, are there alternatives? And I believe as a country, we have other areas where we could invest more and get more money than we would get through the,
but this is primarily, as he puts it, and he'll clarify himself, this is primarily for medicinal purposes.
Yes.
And just as we have South Africa Health Products and Regulatory Authority, you know, controlling this also will be controlled by the regulatory body here. We have the Poison and Pharmacy and Poisons Board at the end of the day.
I think the challenge we have about in this country is the enforcement bit of it. So, you know, it will be grown for medicinal purposes, but I can tell you for sure, even currently, there's so much cannabis that was moving around the country, just being transported from even KC, from Kitui, going to different areas, because the enforcement bit is weak. So while we could be doing it for medicinal purposes, I can tell you, we'll find it in schools, we'll find it in universities, and then it will cause more harm to our people than the good we expect of the skilled people. So it's something I would not support personally.
All right, Jaka, we're winding up. Would you want also to just make clarity on this as well? How, if you come up with this proposal here, this is in your manifesto at the end of the day, comparative to what we've seen in Rwanda and South Africa, what are you particularly intent on?
You know, Bilibal, a lot of people in this country are very, very ignorant. And those who are learned are the most ignorant. We are moving into 22nd century. We are looking at 2070. What is going to happen? Canada last year alone got $484 billion US. Uganda has contracted Israel to grow 150,000 acres. Now, people here look at it for smoking purposes. That is insane. We are looking at it not only for medicinal purposes, but we are looking at what can come out of it. As we speak, if Dr. Makali, who is a doctor, I don't know that he's a doctor of medicine,
I'm an economist.
Yes, yeah, thank you. In fact, you should be the best person debating on this one from the economic perspective. But if you got injured today, the kind of painkiller you get today has little percentage of marijuana medicinal. And that's why the US government is now doing away with painkillers and actually offering it as a modus of relieving pain. People here are so obsessed with Christianity, and I'm thankful that the two of them are Christians. They have said it. Nothing wrong with the Christianity. Because when a white man came with the Bible and told you that Jesus' picture was this, when Jesus' picture was not there, then Da Vinci, who made the first picture, depicts Jesus as what have you. You come in with that myopic of saying, oh, for Christianity, or we are looking at medicinal value and industrial value, and what actually comes out of it. If you got the military hardware, 70% of military hardware is made out of marijuana. If you look at paper, karatasi ya kuandika, a tree grows for 20 years. Hemp grows only for 6 months. And it produces the finest fabric where other byproducts are made. What I'm telling Kenyans is, we are borrowing 2 billion every day, and that's what Uhuru said. But I disagree with the president on that. It could have been more.
We're losing 2 billion a day.
Yes, that's what he said. Losing, or borrowing and losing, both of that was said. Now, if you count that amount of money you're borrowing every day, and then you look at the Chinese debt, which is exorbitantly going to hell, and you look at what is going to happen in 40 years from today, that means the children that are being born today will be born in debt. So why can't we grow this plant and export it and get money to pay off the Chinese and the rest and ask them to leave?
Thank you.
And finally, please, before you finish, one sack of marijuana is $2.3 million US. One sack of maize is 3,000 shillings. One sack of beans is about 4,000, and maca is about 4,000. Let us wake up and transform our country.
Thank you.
If you look at alcohol...
Thank you, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. We need to leave it at that. It's 8 o'clock on the nose. I'm way beyond my time. And I know this is a huge topic that will warrant more time so that we can get clarity as well. We cannot do justice with it right now. I want to thank you, Professor Wajakoya, who is a party leader, Roots Party, also a presidential aspirant. Thank you for coming through. Professor, thank you for coming through. And also I want to thank Senior Counsel, Kongo Mogani as well. Just to closing remarks, 10 seconds. We don't even have time. 10 seconds. And then also Dr. Makali Amulu, your closing remarks, briefly.
10 seconds, I can just wish Kenyans a good week ahead. Yeah.
Thank you. Makali.
Yeah, let's have peaceful elections. Campaign period and elections.
Right, let's have peaceful elections and of course campaign periods as well at the end of the day. Thank you. Also, 10 seconds to you, Professor Wajakoya.
Just vote for this man and have change. Thank you.
Right, vote for that man and have change. You need to pay for also my airtime here.